our doctor on board on small boats was the coxswain.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
They do receive a bit of medical training, and the chef is also part of the ship's medical team. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I'd want them to cut me open and sew me up though. Anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
G'day, Roger. Justin.
G'day. How you going, mate?
Good.
Pleased to meet you. Okay.
What have you got for me?
Where did you serve, and how old were you when you joined?
I was not long turned 18 when I joined. I'd actually already signed on to join the Navy prior to finishing year 12, so my future after school was pretty much assured. I did 24 years of both permanent service and reserve service. I served in patrol boats and hydrographic vessels in border protection roles.
I only did 5 years in the Navy, a bit of time in the reserve time, but I didn't do any active stuff in the reserve, so I did 5 years. And bit of sea time up top. The Indonesian confrontation, we had a trip to Vietnam. I was on the Vampire. All right, mate. Your turn.
My turn? All right.
I think.
Okay. How do you feel about sharing your stories of time in service?
I'm happy enough to, but to be candid, I do have reservations if people will necessarily believe you or think you're big noting or how could that happen. Most of the time, a lot of the time, it was just plain sailing. But you did have occasions, because I was talking to a mate of mine recently about certain things and brought a lot back because I seem to have forgotten a whole, I'll put it in the back of my mind, a whole lot of stuff, which once it's mentioned, you recall it. So all my time in the police, 30 odd years, when I got out of the Navy, seemed to occupy what was going on in my brain. And as I say, I put a lot of it in the back of my mind, but these days now, it's coming forth.
Have you suffered any injuries?
Well, that's a yes. I dislocated my shoulder quite a bit in the Navy. First time playing rugby union, of course, under training at Lewin, HMAS Lewin, and dislocated it. And we had a tough old coach, a great man. They really looked after us in those days. I was only 16 and a half, 17, and they were considerate, but they were tough. So throw it back in, and out you go again. And that was not uncommon. Then I went on, the Vampire was a ship I served on, playing rugby in the Vampire, for the Vampire, and again, it'd throw out, and then diving, because I was an ordinary seaman clearance diver, and getting dressed in some of the gear. The shoulder would cause me problems, but as long as I didn't say anything, I was okay.
Yes.
And but injured as a result of operational service, no. Sporting was more injury prone for me than the actual operational service.
Yeah, I think that question, have you suffered any injuries, is a yes. In my experience, in talking to many veterans, is a yes, and that's a yes from this end to this end. How that affects each of us is chalk and cheese. We're all different. We all see things.
You're talking mental injury now.
Mental and physical.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you're almost conditioned to, like you say, with your shoulder, you didn't really say much, it hurt, and you sort of just, you just
Got on with the job.
Got on with the job. Yeah, I recall one time where I was on an illegal fishing boat that overturned, and I ended up in the ocean. It was 11 o'clock at night with sharks and half a dozen Indonesian fishermen and all their gear. That's not a normal experience. That's one of many. No one ever really talked about, wow, that was actually pretty scary. I could have been inside that boat when it turned over, which I nearly was. That's a question that brings up, I suppose, part of the defence culture is that you just get on with the job regardless of how you may feel mentally and how you're feeling maybe within yourself, and you're up from a moral perspective, but also a physical perspective. What advice would you give to a young person wanting to join defence?
Primarily, it would be to do your research, set your goals, because I think that's important, particularly this day and age, before you go in. There may be academic qualifications necessary. Sit down, study hard, achieve those academic qualifications. If you're engaging in work, whether you're at school or part-time work, establish a good work ethic, and go for it and enjoy it, because there are plenty of opportunities, and take the opportunities as they arise, whether it's further training or for advancement or whatever, but and enjoy your time.
Indeed.
Now, how can people ask a veteran about their service?
I think that one's pretty simple. It's use Anzac Day as an example. We see a lot of kids, a lot of young people. Is just to ask, say, hey, thank you for your service. Can you tell me about what you did? The majority of veterans that I know are quite happy to say, I served on this ship, or I served in such and such a squadron or a battalion, and I went here and here and here. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, which I'm certainly aware that there are many stories like that. But to ask a veteran about what they did is, I think is the most easiest, friendly and open way, because a lot of veterans are quite happy to talk about what they did.
I couldn't agree more, and because I think it's nice to be asked, and it's a good thing to happen to you. I know from harking back to my years, I got out of the Navy in '68. I joined the police later on that same year. I had nearly 30 years there, and it was towards the end of my service. The blokes I'd worked with all that time, oh, we didn't know you were in the Navy, Roger. It wasn't spoken of. People didn't ask anything. And because I say, I hark back again, I'm talking about the Vietnam years. You weren't necessarily well received in certain areas of society, and not all, but some. And I know that had an effect on a number of people I know personally. I think it's a great thing if people ask.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. Thanks, Roger. Thanks very much for
Good on you, mate.
answering those questions.